Welcome back to Ragnar Rider Show.
Welcome to Ragnar Rider's Shop Talk, the ultimate pit stop for all things two-wheeled and roaring. We are mostly ordinary guys who live and breathe the motorcycle lifestyle. From our personal journeys to gripping product and accessory reviews, bike builds that redefine the road, the latest industry buzz, and a sneak peek into our future travels. Consider this your front row seat to our motorcycling odyssey. So kick back, relax, and let the engines roar as we dive deep into the world of chrome, leather, and the sweet symphony of the open highway. Welcome to Ragnar Rider's Shop Talk, where the rubber meets the road and the stories unfold in the wind.
Welcome back to Ragnar Rider Show Talk.
Woo!
Randy's getting fired up tonight. Sorry guys, we've been going for about 10 minutes here before we said hello to the camera. But,
that's right.
So I'm DJ Sealing, John Woody, Randy B. Hope you know us by now. But tonight I want to talk about parts. Like we've talked about build components and we've talked about bikes and Harley's release and all that kind of stuff. But there's those parts that are on every bike. You know, we're fixing to go to Daytona. We're fixing to walk into a destination. There's going to be, I don't know how many hundreds, thousands of bikes. There's going to be dozens and dozens of vendors selling all kinds of parts.
Stuff.
But where do you start? Like you've got your new bike and you're like, okay, well, what's the first thing you're going to do to it?
Well, we've talked about this before. I'm a big proponent of what I call, and I think is referred to as the rider triangle. And that is getting the bike fitted for you to where you're comfortable in whatever upright, laid back, forward control, whatever that is, of having from the handlebars to your seating position to your feet would be the definition of the riding triangle. So to me, that is the first thing that I think you need to address. You know, some people are going to say, you got to throw a stage one on it. Some people are going to say suspension. But for me, I think addressing your rider triangle so that you're comfortable and can maintain control of that bike for safety reasons is number one.
Now, when did you adopt this mindset? Because I can remember when you bought your bike and I said, hey, on your way home from the dealership, be thinking about what kind of bars you want to buy. And you're like, no, I'm good. I don't need bars. I kind of like
when
where
my
they're
bars
at.
are down here by my knees. Yeah, I think that was about the time when I realized my factory bars are down by my knees. I do think that I learned that answer the hard way.
Okay.
And I think that's why I'm at where I'm at, is that if someone were to ask me, I would say that's really probably the first thing that you need to focus on is addressing your rider triangle so that you're comfortable riding your bike.
Yeah, I don't disagree. And I think we had a conversation before about parts. I remember when I bought my first Ultra Limited, I walked up to the parts counter and I was just like, I want taller bars. I'm a 6'4" guy. I know that they make tall boy bars, and I felt like that's what I needed. But I had no idea, like, how many bar options there were. And
Just at the dealership.
yeah.
That's not including the world. That's just the dealership's got 4 or 5 kind.
Sure. And so John had made mention of a kind of a topic that we wanted to get into, and this kind of been our segue to get there, but become aware as a rider of where to source these parts from. Don't get locked into just what your dealership has. Like, I'm not saying it. You're saying it tonight.
Come on. Dun, 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 dun.
I don't know this is where you're going, but obviously, the tunnel, we've talked about it. You tunnel vision in at your local Harley dealership, and you may be blessed with a very knowledgeable part counter that knows not only Harley parts but aftermarket parts, knows how to get out there and see what compatibility issues, fitment specs, and all that. But then, you may stumble across a dealership that the main guy is off that day, and you got, day 2 employee that just started and really just found out what Harley Davidson was a week before when he filled out his application. I'm exaggerating my point, but
I don't know if you're exaggerating.
well,
too much.
I've had
There's
some
guys.
experiences where I don't know that I am exaggerating that point, but you do kind of. I think that's probably the first tunnel vision that most people that buy their first, at least Harley Davidson, kind of. And there are some really good. We're blessed at our two of our local dealerships in the area where we predominantly do most of our businesses. There's key people at each location that we know that if I've got a question about a fitment of something that I want to do, yes, this will work, or no, it won't. But I've also been to other dealerships where, like my Low Rider S, there's some things that I'm wanting to do. It's got a forward control conversion kit on it, but the conversion kit, because of COVID at the time, was just a chrome. I want it black. So I went to, and I said, that brake lever right there, I want that. No, that won't work on your bike. What do you mean it won't work on my bike? It's on a Heritage soft. No, it won't work on your bike. Because it wasn't in a cookie cutter catalog.
Right.
He didn't know that's not an option. Well, yeah, it is. There's plenty of options out there. And so the level of frustration instilled in me until finally the parts manager said, now what is it you're wanting to do? Then we went into looking at parts breakdown indexes, and we found, okay, this is the part that'll work. But I think that was kind of the biggest, or one of the first things that I realized is there's options outside of your local Harley dealership to do some of this research, but then also know who you're talking to that's on the other side of that counter. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, I mean, you brought up the brake lever, but I think the situation that stands out to me the most was probably the tail light on your tour pack.
Yeah.
So I'll let you elaborate on the details on that, but that was kind of the aha moment that kind of, reinforced the suspicions that we had on where all these parts are sourced from, and understanding of what they say at the P&A counter is not the gospel.
Right.
It may be their gospel, but
And that's a good segue to talk about the whole dynamics of the supply chain industry in the motorcycle world. So maybe that's a good place to start, and we can dive off in different places, So I had a vision for my bike that I wanted to get all the color off of it. I got a black and chrome ultra limited, and all the red and yellows, and I wanted to kind of smoke everything out. And so kind of decided early on that I wanted to go the Custom Dynamics Pro Beam route, and was able to start getting little lamps and covers and start replacing everything. But then I got to where I wanted to do the wraparound the tour pack lights on my King Tour Pack. Well, at that time, because of supply chain issues, they weren't available. Well, as I've started searching, so I went to my local Harley dealership with a contact that I know and trust and say, hey, this is what I want. Well, they go to Drag Specialties, which is the aftermarket company that they use for all things aftermarket. All your vendors.
the big book.
It is the big catalog book for aftermarket, non-Harley Davidson parts. And there's 4 warehouse locations that they draw from. And all 4 of them were showing out of stock. Well, they were running a special on lights, so much off. I said, well, just go ahead and order. Surely they'll be in. It was showing a delivery date of like 6 weeks later. So that's fine. It's winter. I think it was September going into winter. Just get it on order. I wait. What I also learned after this was that was just after bike season. We'll come back to that, because I think that's part of the discussion.
Yeah.
With rally, or should I say rally season, bike rally season, because that affects supply chain in the motorcycle world pretty significantly. Time goes on, I call my contact at the local parts desk, hey, what's an update on this? And I'm not getting anything. So I start doing a little bit of research on my own. I actually reach out directly to Custom Dynamics. Yes, it's on back order. We're showing, okay, very nice, great customer service. I sit back and I just kind of sit and wait and be patient. And then another couple of months goes by. Still don't have this light. Now, this light bar from our tour pack, and I'm getting a little anxious because now it's getting close to spring riding season. And I want to get this done. The winter modification season's kind of coming to an end. I call Custom Dynamics back, and very nice lady answers the phone, talk to her, and she says, well, let me put you on our notification distribution email list of this part so that when this part becomes available or when we get a forecasted date of when it's actually available, you'll be notified. So she does that, and sure enough, not only about, I guess it was maybe within a month later, not only did I get an email, Custom Dynamics called me and said, hey, these are going to hit our website tomorrow. They're first come, first serve. Well, what I didn't know was that as they had those lights come in stock, a certain percentage of them obviously goes to Drag Specialties. But then they hold back some, and this is another concept that I think is worthy of noting. And this is with all these vendors, and I've dealt with this with other vendors, is that they will hold some back for their website sales. They portion a certain piece of the pie chart to of however many they get in to go to Drag Specialties, go out to all the dealerships. And then there's a certain pie portion of that goes strictly to the trucks that are going to rallies. And this is all the stuff that I learned through this process. Long story short, I call her, I said, give me your direct line number. I call her back next day, I order my light. Now, I'd already paid for it at the local Harley dealership. Anyhow, I get it shipped back, and then literally 30 minutes after I install it on my bike, local Harley store calls me and said, hey, your light's in. By that time, hey, I'm good. So anyhow, but I learned so many dynamics of when you look at the supply chain world of motorcycles. So I've already talked about, we've got HD parts, you've got Drag Specialties, and there's others out there besides Drag Specialties. Kuryakin was a major aftermarket manufacturer that just got bought out by Tucker Power Sports that has since been bought out by somebody else. And these are mass distribution companies that are buying out these parts manufacturers. They're going through some of that handoff and purchases there's a lot of Kuryakin parts right now that they show on the website, but they've been unavailable since last August because as they've gone through these mergers. But just in the next month, rally season's about to start. Remember me talking about that pie chart? They're going to dedicate a certain percentage of available parts to be on those trucks that are traveling the roads. And the first one that's going is Daytona Bike Week. And then it's going to leave there and go to the next stop and the next stop and the next stop. And I've literally had conversations with some of these vendors that have said, well, let's see what's still on the truck when it gets back from Sturgis. I've had a vendor tell me that because we're out with our internet sales. Drag Specialties is out. But if there's one on that truck, when it comes back from Sturgis, I'll give you a call. And so there's so many dynamics that when you start looking at these aftermarket parts, not only with fitment, but availability and understanding the supply chain world is something that you have to manage specifically when you start getting into customization.
Yeah, it was some Custom Dynamics lights. I don't remember which bike, may have been my Softail, but I can remember Custom Dynamics was out. Harley, they just didn't have anything on the shelf, and I'd kind of shelved it for a while. I don't need these lights right now. It wasn't that important. But then we end up going down to Panama City or somewhere and going by Rick Rack. Rick Rack's got them stacked to the ceiling, and it was kind of evident then, like, okay, I see how this goes. Rick Rack's not going to say no. They're going to sell every LED they can.
Yep.
And so when that order form comes to them, how many Custom Dynamics lights do you want? They check the box that says all of them.
Yeah.
And so Custom Dynamics does. And I guess a fair job. I haven't been disappointed yet, but they divvy it up. So, okay, well, we'll give you this much of an allotment and this much of an allotment. And so it kind of gets shared amongst all the vendors there that sell their product. And maybe they reserve some for their own website so that they don't have to deal with, this has been on back order for this long or that long. There's.
And the other dynamic that was hard for me to understand, but I've actually experienced it in other supply chain issues outside of the motorcycle world is, think about that vendor that's going to Sturgis. And the dynamic of you'd come all the way to Sturgis to get an exhaust system put on your bike. Because you want to get it done at the rally, while you wait, there's some cost savings. Maybe they got some deals going on labor, we are going to install it or whatever. And you walk up and you say, I want this full exhaust system put on my bike. And he looks at you and tells you, I'm sorry, I don't have it. They're going to do everything they can to make sure that they have product available at that rally. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but that's got to be their primary goal for marketing, because how bad is that going to look when you go to whatever vendor A, XYZ's tent, and they don't even have the product that you came all the way to Sturgis or Daytona to get installed on your bike? So they're going to do everything they can to make sure that truck is stacked out with surplus of whatever parts that might be on the hot item right there. More so, might have a higher priority, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
And then you got, what's the other big one? Komodo? Know what it's called? What all falls under there? It's Cycle Gear, it's JP.
JP, Revzilla, and then I think they're, and I think they sell directly to like smaller type stores.
I think that's right.
Do they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was one
They're
thing that was kind of telling to me is early on I'd find myself shopping Revzilla, and then if I didn't find what I was looking for there, I was jumping over to JP Cycles, and then come to find out they're all pulling from the same warehouse.
Yeah. I think Revzilla is actually the ones that bought them all up.
Yeah, maybe.
Well,
you can go to Revzilla's website and scroll down. You can see all
they're
the
all-
ones.
they're all
Now
listed,
it's
but
at the bottom of their
I think it was
website.
originally Revzilla. And then,
And that's only been a couple years in the making, I guess.
Yeah.
So that was kind of interesting how that conglomerate worked, and seeing that, and I guess it's good for us as enthusiasts to know that this is a big distribution platform where everything kind of gets housed. A little bit deceiving, bouncing from website to website to website, thinking that there's going to be different product line, but I don't guess there really is.
so if you were, let's look at it from our perspective first. No, let's look at it from the distribution person's perspective, whoever owns the website. Is it better to have it on your website that you're out of a product, or for you to be out of a product at a rally?
Website. It would be the industry standard that I think you see.
Yeah.
You will see it sold out on the website and it still be available at a rally.
That's it.
9 times out of 10. 100%.
And there's so many reasons that we could sit here and list them, probably and come up with 10 without blinking hard, from an economic perspective in that area, from bringing crowds in, from enthusiastic, whatever you want to call it. There's a reason for that. When we went to spring last year, you and Bobby didn't get to go. That's when I had my head piping all done by Reinhardt, but I didn't go to have Reinhardt do mine. He's the one that got Reinhardt done.
Yeah.
I was a Vance and Hines guy.
Yeah.
Vance and Hines didn't have it in stock. He said, we're hoping to get it, but right now we just don't have it. So I was, by default, I'm going to get it done. I got to go around the corner, and that's where I met Kevin. And of course, I knew your story already, and you were pleased. And so they put it on. So
Yeah, that was right on the cusp of the compliant,
Yeah.
non-compliant.
Yep.
And you and I went to several vendors.
Yeah,
I believe we went to Chromeworks. Chromeworks was, we're not doing head pipes here.
that's right.
We went to S&S and we're like, no, we're not doing exhaust systems here. Whatever the EPA restrictions were on that, it's above my pay grade and whatever. But I think that was the reasoning before that.
Yeah.
Nobody was straightforward enough with us to say, no, I don't have those because I can't have those because we're got our hands tied behind our back on those, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, that was last spring, and I don't know the exact date and deadlines of compliancy for all the major exhaust vendors, but there was a rush to get products out there after R&D to have a post-compliant exhaust system with header pipes and everything. And when Daytona hit Bike Week happened in the spring, they were still in that debacle, and so that rally I went to, there weren't many options available because they had already been put on notice from.
Well, Kevin had, part of his selling speech, Reinhardt, was that everything they had right there was pre-compliant. I mean, that was his. He said, if you want it, we've got it. You better get it now. You know, same thing when you bought your head pipe. You wanted a pre-compliant Vance and Hines head pipe. You looked everywhere for one. Nowhere to be found, and all of a sudden, one of our local dealerships
I had to find one sitting on a shelf.
on the
somewhere.
shelf that had
Got lucky.
dust all over it, been sitting there for I don't know how long, and you bought it and it sat in your basement for a year.
But even inside the Harley warehouse, you had an experience with some CVO foot pegs, or was it where?
Well, that's idiocy of the people behind it. That ain't anything to do supply chain.
Yeah, that wasn't a supply chain issue.
Well, it might
that
have
was a
been
brain
supply-
cell issue, I
yeah,
think,
that's-
what that
that's it.
came down to. But
But still though, I mean, that goes back to that whole, we went to 2 dealerships here locally, and we got the same response. I mean, it was just can't do it, ain't gonna fit, blah blah, and we just randomly walk in one in Knoxville, Tennessee, and the guy was like, "Yeah, you want it?"
So, and what that was that the CVOs at the time, it was the Dominator series was it Dominator?
No, Defiance.
Defiance series is what they were putting on the CVOs. And with the CVO, that little inset of the Harley Bar and Shield had a painted red inset. But you could get the Defiance series off the shelf at any Harley dealership that did not have that red inset for the CVO.
Yeah, it says HD on it.
You're right,
on the
instead of the
Defiance.
red Bar and Shield, which is exclusive to CVOs.
Correct.
So, but you wanted to match that. You wanted the CVO version.
Yes.
And you were kind of getting the runaround until you
Right.
went to another dealership and like, no, I can get it. I just
And
got to
what-
pull up in the parts catalog breakdown
that's what
index and
happened.
order it.
Well, and that's what and I think one time I went, I don't know if you were with me, but one time I went and I said, okay, let me get this right. I'm riding my bike along, I wreck it, all right? It messes up the rear passenger foot peg, which is the exact of what I want. I actually just want those 2 to put on the front. Crash the bike, messes it up, I got to order a new one. Can I get it? Oh, yeah. That's what I want.
Yeah.
can't do it.
No, can't do it.
Can't do it. No. Let's back up. I crashed the bike. I ruined the highway peg passenger. I got to buy another one. Can you get it? Yeah, buy me 2. There we go. Just buy 2. I'll put one on the front.
Yeah.
Anyway, but spelling it out still wouldn't. And here's the why, because you brought it up earlier. When they looked in the catalog, and look, I'm not going to take anything away from these parts people. They're trained and they do what they do. But we do what we do, and here we are doing what we do, bashing them to a degree. But they go down that list, and if it's not in there like it's supposed to be, for them to recognize it, then their response to us is, we can't get it.
Yeah.
It's not for you, or it don't fit. So what we needed them to do, and we finally figured it out, was go down and look at the passenger foot peg. Forget the highway peg. Just pretend like we didn't even say highway peg.
Yeah.
Go to passenger foot peg. I want 2 of those. We ordered 4 of them. He got the chrome version. I got the blacked out version. Boom, we were all happy. Come in a few weeks later, and he shipped them to us from Knoxville.
I think the biggest gripe I've got with that is I kind of felt like if it was not, cookie cutter easy for them to do, they just weren't that interested. And I think they've learned us by now to know that we may not necessarily take that for an answer.
No, it's not good enough.
And our parts people have gotten a little better in some
50% of them.
instances, But, we've talked about this before. These companies out here that supply these parts, I mean, they want to sell their product, believe it or not. I know that's a strange concept to wrap your head around, but they've been very accommodating. I've not had a bad experience that I can recall with an aftermarket company, be it Custom Dynamics. You spoke of their customer service, top notch. I've had to have phone conversations with them that, it just went better than you anticipate. Recently when I did my Road Glide build, I wanted new hoses. The guy that put the hoses on my bike before I bought it, it had, I've got 17-inch bars, I think is what they are. Well, so he had to put hoses on it, and I didn't like the way that he did the fittings at the top. It's probably just me being a little too picky about it, but I wanted new hoses. Went to the parts counter. The guy orders the wrong ones. They come in. I take my bike to the dealership. We roll it back there. We're putting it on the lift. We go get the parts that he orders. The mechanic looks at it and says, I'm not putting these on there. We're not even allowed to put these on there. We don't even know why he ordered these. So the guy in the back office is bashing the guy in the front office, and you're going, hey, I just wanted hoses on my bike. So I give them another, couple of weeks. They're going to order new ones. That doesn't happen. They never
Didn't the
come
owner
in.
of the dealer walk through and see that and go, what are those doing here?
Yeah. Why aren't
that not
those
the
in my
same
dealership?
is that the same-
We're not doing that.
Yeah.
There's too much liability in pressing those ends on and making these hoses up, and there's too many options out there.
Yeah.
We're just not doing it. But I kind of left the ball in their court again to order the hoses correctly, and they still didn't do it. So I ended up calling Magnum. Let me tell you, it took me about 7.5 minutes. Pleasant conversation. Nice lady on the phone. What kind of bike you got? And I'm telling her, oh, those are really nice. I like those. My husband had a da-da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, you need this kit. Oh, but you don't need these parts or these parts because you've already got our hoses. You just need this part and this part. $171, and 3 days later, I got the hoses that I need.
Just like that.
Just like that.
And I would say that that's standard across the industry. I've had similar conversations with Legend Suspension. I've had similar conversations with Thrash and Supply for the LRS on some stuff that I'm wanting to do that maybe isn't so self-explanatory on the website. You pick up the phone, you call them, you email them. I've gotten phone calls and actually having conversations right now with a product Two Lane Life has out there right now with Lance, and something that he displayed in the CVO video. And I was like, hey, I want that. So, reaching out to some of these vendors, they're more than willing, back to your point, they're wanting to sell their product, and anytime you have something that's a one-off type scenario, there's ways to get information and find people that are willing to help you and find out what fitments will work and what won't, and find a solution for you. I remember being at Daytona this past fall and looking, the new thing is putting the FXR fairings on the front of whether it be an LRS or a Road King or different variations, but there's some different brackets. And then I had a situation where I've got the high-low bunking bars on the LRS. Well, that's the same mounting point as where this FXR fairing at one of the vendors had. And I was like, all right, I got a problem here. What's the solution? And he pointed me down the road to another vendor that had a solution because of a relationship that he had, and said, here's your solution. This is a bracket you can put on, and it suffices both needs. It's like, wow, cool. Do you think majority of the parts counters at your local area? No, I mean, it's not trying to knock or bash, because they serve a great purpose. I mean, don't get me wrong. They serve a great purpose, but there's all kinds of options out there on supply chain.
I think I think they do their job.
Absolutely.
And
they do it well.
They do. And they don't go beyond that. Going to a rally, whether it's Custom Dynamics or whatever it is, there are a few things, I guess. I'm trying to think of one. There's a reason I'm pausing, but I really can't. Think of one thing. I'll ask you guys the question. Think of one thing that's sold at the rally that's only sold into 1/10. That's a part.
Your points. I mean, you're right. I'm sure there's probably some options out there, but
I mean, even
usually
Reinhardt and Vance and Hines are sold at JP Cycle and inside the dealership.
Yeah.
I mean,
everybody's got Custom Dynamics lights. I mean, Rick Rack is their main distributor, but you walk 2 more tents down, and they've got Custom Dynamics lights.
Rick Rack has some proprietary stuff that's specific for like GoPros and stuff that they've developed, but that's so few and far between.
Yeah.
So they're not there to. And I told Michael Cash, I've gotten to know him with Suicide Choppers. He's done quite a bit of stuff that I've bought from him, and my brother-in-law got some stuff from him this fall. And, he's under his tent, and him and his guys throwing bars on and engine bars, and now they've developed a bag bar and handlebars. Man, they're just doing all they can to stay busy. But you know what else is doing that? So is 4 other providers around the area that's now selling their stuff. So you go to Rick Rack, it's hanging on their wall. You go to JP Cycle, it's hanging on their wall. And there's other people installing it. Custom Dynamics, they're all over the place. I used to think when I first started going, a couple years ago when I made my first visit after many years of being away, I thought, well, if they're selling Custom Dynamics and I don't like that price, well, I'll go down to another one they're selling and maybe they'll beat the price. No, the price is set.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of which tent you want to buy it from under. Now there may be hey, we put it on free, or, like back in the day when, and I don't know how it is now because I have a way of getting my phones and stuff, but Apple set the price for all their products. If you sold it for what Apple said sell it for, or you didn't sell it. So Target's way around that is they would sell you that device and then give you a $5, $10, $15, $20, $30, $40, $50 gift card to their store. So that was their way around it. So if you find something like that, maybe, but the products are everywhere, under almost everybody's tent, whether it's the stereo, SoundStream. Tony and them down at Daytona Cycle, they've done work for us. They're not the only ones that sell that thing.
Yeah.
Others do. So,
But, and I use that to my advantage. We're kind of coming out of post-COVID world with a lot of supply chain issues, but during that time frame where there was limitations of parts availability, learning the major distributors and how the networks of the supply chain in the motorcycle world work, I would do what I refer to its own military term of killing time going through the BX, doing what we call shelf check. I would go to the websites and make phone calls to the different venues of how that tree splits of the product getting to the end user and say, well, JP doesn't have it, but let me check this vendor, let me check this vendor. And usually you would end up finding somebody that still had it sitting on their shelf. Some situations, no, like sure enough, like my brother's still waiting on a Kuryakin tour pack relocation kit to be able to slide it back. It's just with the Tucker Power Sports buyout, then that product is not available for a Rushmore and later King Tour Pack. And hopefully, as we approach spring rally season, they'll work through all the distribution legitimacies and everything they're dealing with, and it will be available. But he's been waiting on that since August.
You know, the dealerships are a little different from that because we've been to, or at least I have. I know we've all been to many dealerships, but areas will dictate. You know, they may all get the same product, but in some areas, they may buy more of a certain thing, and in another area, that product may not sell much at all.
Yeah.
So we have seen in places where a dealership may put something on sale. We've been to the parts table. Natchez Trace is known for having that table out front where they put all that stuff on sale. Then some stuff there that I haven't seen anywhere else on sale. Well, it's probably because they don't sell up in that area, whatever the reason may be. But you just, outside of that, you don't really see a lot of that stuff just go on mass sale. You know, JP Cycle's not going to offer the same light that Rick Rack's got or that Custom Dynamic Tent's got for half price. But they're just not going to do it. So if you find it and they've got it in stock, usually it's a matter of, okay, you're going to do it free, and do you have a lift open?
Yeah. And I think another thing that gives a little bit of assurance, you know, I want to use this analogy with, you know, buying a name brand TV. You know, going to Walmart or Circuit City, I'm really dating myself there. Best Buy. That was back in the day, wasn't it? Best Buy or Sam's or Costco or whatever. You think, I'm getting a 55-inch LCD screen or TV, right? It's 8,000 series. You start doing a price check, and well, Walmart's got it for $30 cheaper. You start reading the fine print, that TV's not.
It's an 8300 series.
Yeah.
Or it's a C model or
It's got
a
an
D
L or a
model
K on the
or
end of it or
whatever after the truncation of the, because, you know, maybe Sam Walton's organization said, you know what, we'll sell your product, but I need it at this price point. So therefore, what does the manufacturer do? They find a way to cut cost.
Right.
And maybe it's a cheaper processor or whatever. But the end user sees it and thinks it's the same TV. Well, it's really not. I don't think that's the case. I have not found that evident in the motorcycle world. When you go to Rick Rack or Custom Dynamic straight on their website, or you're still getting the same product.
Right.
So I think there's a little bit of reassurance in that a little bit different than supply chain outside the motorcycle world. But one point that I do kind of want to make and show a little bit of love, there is a time and a place where I specifically will go back to my local Harley-Davidson dealership parts counter because, you know, obviously in the supply chain world, there's cost savings embedded into mass numbers. So, you know, when you've got Mother HD that's supplying their warehouses from, so it goes from a Drag Specialties warehouse then to Harley-Davidson's warehouse, they've got those parts in surplus there, and they're shipping those. They're saving money instead of using FedEx to one-on delivery. They got a truck headed to the southeast anyway, so they're going to put it on that truck.
Right.
So logistically, they have some embedded savings. Well, in some ways, we benefit from Harley Davidson on that cost savings. In other words, if I ordered something off of a website, more than likely, I won't have to pay shipping.
Right.
But if I go to my local parts counter at the Harley Davidson, guess what? I don't have to pay shipping.
Right.
Because it's embedded in their network of logistics. So, and when you start looking at big items such as a full exhaust system, that shipping can get expensive. Now that shipping's an extra $80, $100. Whereas if I go to my local Harley dealership, that's a savings that goes in my pocket. So there's benefits of using all these avenues of getting parts and understanding that you can save some money.
Yeah.
So you brought up a valid point there, or triggered a reactor in my brain. But there was a derby cover that I wanted for one of my bikes back. It was Father's Day, about that time frame, and I can remember shopping on Harley's website, and they had it on sale with a $20 off coupon, and then you got a $20 e-commerce gift card to go with it. Ended up getting a derby cover for $60, $70. It typically would have been $125.
Yeah.
If I'd have just walked up to the parts counter, guess what I would have paid?
Yeah.
$125.
Yeah.
So, and I can remember having a conversation with a dealer. I don't know how long ago this has been. Probably a couple of years ago, on the right after COVID, and we're able to start getting back into things. And I went to the dealership and asked for a price on a lithium battery, and he was like, we can't get them. I mean, he was mad about it. He was like, we don't even have a parts number for it anymore. Harley Davidson took the parts number away from us.
Well,
You remember that?
There was a specific reason why that was the case, but that might be a different
I
discussion.
don't remember the reasoning, but I remember thinking, this is weird. So Harley's got the part, but you can't get it. Yep.
Yeah.
You can order it online, but I can't. Huh? What's weird about this? So what was...
There was some issues with the Harley batteries, if I'm not mistaken.
But I could have ordered it online from HarleyDavidson.com.
Right, because in the
But the
supply chain,
dealership couldn't order it.
yeah, they were not given access to it at that moment in time. I think you just got it in a snapshot of where they haven't redistributed those that were approved to sell again.
Well, there were some things going on, and I think there are some things going on with Harley where they're trying to get some of the accessory sales and parts sales away from the dealership.
There's that too.
Yeah. And they're offering sales and promos that aren't being extended down to the dealer level. So kind of an interesting dynamic I've kind of seen unfold there.
Which is another part of that is if you have to return it. Being able to return something to Harley Davidson versus online purchase versus your local
keep that
dealership.
receipt.
Yeah. Well, even if you have the receipt, it can be interesting. But
Well, we did. You had picked up something.
it's a jacket. Yeah,
Yeah,
I bought
a
Bobby
jacket.
a jacket for Christmas I ended up getting the wrong size.
Yeah, but I remember a story about you trying to take something back, and the dealership said, no, we don't take back online sales, and you got your phone out and said, no, it says return policy right here, can return to any dealership.
That was that jacket. Yeah.
But according to what I understand
ended
is
up
you're
eating
supposed
crow.
to have the paper receipt. Like on your phone, won't
Yes,
do it. You can't
but I
email
did.
them.
I had the email.
That's easy to do, but yeah.
I've only done it
That
once,
was
and
instance.
Heart of Dixie did it.
But I think there is a push to online sales, and I think and it's a business model.
Mm-hmm.
The less overhead I can have in my dealership and cut my O&M and my expenses, then it's just business 101. I mean, that's...
No, look, I get that. I bought a jacket a couple of years ago. We were on one of our heck, it's raining, let's go check the shelves on the dealership 4 hours away trips. Went in, found a jacket that I wanted, that they didn't have my size, and the lady was like, I can order it for you and ship it to you. Well, what's that going to cost? Well, it's got to get shipped here. I can't ship it direct to you, but as soon as it comes in here, I'll ship it to you, and it'll be, $27. I was going, I'll just wait till I...
Or you could go to the website and order it all, and then
get free shipping.
Yeah.
So...
I think the dealerships are they're set up to sell to the local guy that does not know anything about the outside world of parts.
Well,
They'll sell to you and I if we go in there and want something, and I've bought a few things, but there's no way that somebody that has the knowledge of the aftermarket, where I'm closing my eyes and make sure I say this right. A guy that has the knowledge, even really that we do better, a little worse, of the aftermarket world, and I'm saying Harleys for right now, would go to the dealership to buy anything.
Yeah, but I think a point that I've experienced that I think is worth making in defense is some of that is outside of the local dealership's control.
No, I agree.
And it's embarrassing for them because they understand some of the stories that we've just described,
Right.
but they've got handcuffs on.
I've talked to them about that.
I mean,
I've talked to our
so-
local one, and they'll shrug their shoulders and go, sorry, there's just nothing we can do about it.
Yeah, and it's embarrassing for them. They're wanting to help you. They're wanting to take care of their local customer.
Sure.
And there's limitations that they have by, we'll call it some higher process that they're struggling
Well, that's
with.
like Harley has rules and regulations about, and I learned this YouTube, because masters of degrees there. If I wanted to buy a motorcycle from a dealership in another state, I am going to have to pay fees that I would not have to pay in my local dealership.
Depends on state to state, yeah, but
Some of that's state driven,
yeah.
but Harley has regulations and clauses that forces that issue. If I'm located in Alabama and I've got 2-3 dealerships nearby and I want to go to Matt Laidlaw in California to buy a bike,
Whole different dynamic there.
even outside of the whole state thing, they've got stuff in place that tries to prevent that. They want the dealerships to serve their region, their area,
Which is
and
a
that's
good
it.
design.
Don't want people going because Matt's got the exact same bike at a third the price or whatever the scenario may be. I just watched this video yesterday or today. Your buddy Ryan Erlacher. I say that with a nice chuckle. Ryan, we love you, buddy. One day you'll probably see this. He comes down on one of his rides with some guys, and they go into Matt Laidlaw's dealership, and a couple of his guys picks up a couple of bikes, new ones. Now, Ryan just recently bought him an Indian, but he's owned Harleys. And they go in, and Matt says, you pay California tax if those two wheels hit the asphalt outside this dealership. And by hitting the asphalt, that means that it's not on a professional, dealer-approved moving truck that will ship it back to your state. So that's one thing. So if I go in there, I buy the bike. Oh, I know what it was. The regulation. Harley requires you to sign your paperwork in person. There's no remote signing. So if I went to, and I don't know how old this video was, all right? Could have been a year, maybe a couple years, I don't know. It looked decently date-wise. But if I wanted to buy, I could call, get everything done over the phone. But when it comes time to sign the paperwork, I've got to go to that dealership and sign it. Or I can't buy the bike.
Yeah, I don't have any knowledge on that. What I do have a little bit of knowledge, and you kind of spoke to it, and just there are some specifics with California, with some of their EPA regulations that any bike Harley ships to California is locked to California.
Well, CARB gets most of that. I mean,
Yeah, CARB is the driving force behind a lot of it. You're absolutely right, spot on. And CARB is some acronym for.
It's California Air.
And you would not want to go from a non-carb bike to a carb bike just to.
Yeah.
No, they're a little different. There's no doubt.
But I mean, you're right. You spoke on this, and that the original dynamic of Harley Davidson with their local dealers is they want to support those communities.
Right.
And I've always had a huge heart for supporting local business, because if you don't support that local business, when you're out on the ride and all of a sudden something happens, let's say, God forbid, your mirror falls off or whatever, having the luxury of being able to stop by, drive 20 minutes to your local Harley dealership is a huge benefit.
Yep.
And if you don't support them on an annual basis, it's supply and demand. That dealership may go out of business if they don't move enough product. You want to keep that dealership there locally. So there's a lot of benefits. So even though there may be frustrations, and we talk about all the different dynamics and tree and branches of the supply chain world, you got to support your local dealership because they're the ones that when you walk in, it's kind of like cheers, Norm,
Yeah, that's right.
That you want that relationship and you want to support and foster that environment.
It's nice to be able to have them, recognize when you walk in. Look, I do my customers that way. I'm sure you guys do those you deal with on a daily basis. So to be able to walk into a dealership or a bar, whatever it may be, and be able to have the bartender, call out your name because he sees you, he knows you, have the dealership, have Kevin under the tent when they're at the rally, whatever it is. It's customer relationship, and we talked about that a few episodes back. So,
but at the same time, I will admit there is nothing more frustrating than to walking in a dealership. You've done a little bit of your preliminary research, and you know what this is what I want.
Yeah.
Hey, can you order this for me? And you get that deer in headlights look like, no, we can't do that for you.
Yeah.
What do you mean you can't? No, they don't make that. What do you mean they don't make that? You pull out your phone. Yeah, you. So you get to a point where your job is to sit behind that parts counter, and know all thing parts.
that's right.
I'm the one that's supposed to be ignorant to this, and nothing. I've had moments where my wife and my son have been with me in dealerships where I'm back there in a conversation with the parts counter, and they have gone and gotten in the truck because I'm literally fuming at. I'm sorry to say, but the ignorance of.
No, I do.
What do you mean? You're telling me they don't make this part? Yes, they do.
We were that way when it come to those foot pegs. I mean, we're going into our second month in 2024, and Harley Davidson still uses the catalog.
I've literally walked the parts guy counter around. Come with me.
Yeah.
Walked him out on the floor and said, "Right here on this bike, that's what I want.
Yeah.
Don't tell me you don't have it.
Yeah.
It's right there on
And
your
then he
floor."
walked back around there and went to that catalog to see if he could find it.
And couldn't.
Yeah.
Because you
And
had to
that's
go to
what-
the parts index.
Right, and that's what
And
throws
there's
for
the
a loop.
part number.
Yeah.
Because I don't. Yeah. Nothing infuriates me more.
And we're not, look, if you work for parts, if you're a dealership and you hear this, we're not dinging. We get you guys, your hands are tied. You have a certain way of doing it. You've been trained to do it this way. It would just be nice to have a little bit, I don't know, what would you say, a little bit freedom to be able to go, well, this is not this, or we don't have that, but hey, how about this? And engaging. But if it's not black and white right there, it's crazy. Would you guys say, in winding this one down, but would you guys say that we talk about doing due diligence and many things
You said it.
I'm going to say it again.
Told you I wasn't gonna say it.
So we were told that the algorithm uses names. So Dixon.
Oh, my goodness.
Dixon. John just got all hot and bothered when I ripped that shirt up.
No, I was just embarrassed for you and how you just what's the word that Las Vegas prostituted yourself out there for Dixon right there.
Hey, would you guys say that you need to do your due
Research.
diligence on the aftermarket part world before did you buy something and go, dang, I didn't know this was out there. I wish I'd have waited.
Yeah, but I go back to the early days of trying to delve off in that. It's highly intimidating.
It is.
And trying to search these websites, check fitments, for somebody that's diving off into it for the first time, it is highly intimidating. And at some point, you just throw your hands up and say, I can't find, and then you go back.
I mean, the rally is too, right? Walking in Destination or down Main Street in Sturgis or wherever you're at, where all the vendors, you can go stir crazy.
I mean, but in their defense, these motorcycle vendors are creating websites so that you can order direct from them. They're not a Walmart or they're not Amazon,
right?
So sometimes their website interfaces aren't always the most. It may be what we've talked about before, a family-owned business that's producing this product, and they've did their best with what technology knowledge they have to build a website, but you as the end user trying to go to that website and find the information to make sure that this part's going to fit my bike might not necessarily be readily available. But one thing I can just about guarantee you from my experience is you pick up that phone or you type that email, they're going to answer you. And they're going to provide customer service and answer that
That'll
question.
shoot
That
straight
website might lead to some frustration and some intimidation, but you reach out and make that phone call, they're going to make sure you're taken care of.
I mean, there's some staples, right? If you're gonna replace your lighting, if you ain't doing custom dynamics, you ain't doing it right. Fair?
There's some Cero fans out there that might disagree with you.
If
I
you
agree
ain't-
with you, but
I agree with
If you ain't riding on a Corbin, you ain't doing it right.
I agree with you there. But
you.
there's
I'm 80% there.
And if you would
I
follow
got one.
Dirtbags Customs, if you ain't got Carlini's, you ain't doing it right.
Come on now.
Brad, he didn't mean it.
Yeah, Brad,
He's
he
fired.
did not
We
mean
still take
that.
your sponsorship. We're going
I got
to
some, KSTs too. I'll throw them some love. My point in that
But
was,
is it a flannel if it ain't a Dixon? Not really. I've got other brands.
yeah, I'm probably there. I've not found anything in the flannel world that I would say is comparable at this point
To what?
to a Dixon.
You got to say it over and over again.
Wow, we're really.
So y'all hold out for the Dixon collab. I've been tasked. Check us out on Insta, rr.shoptalk, TikTok, rrshoptalk, and email us, rrshoptalk@gmail.com, Facebook, Ragnar Riders.
That's it. Guys, we hope you enjoyed, and we hope that you had a blast listening to us. We have a blast doing this. And until next time, God bless.